I love this city. I love these people. I love this space. And because I love this city, I want to talk to you about a project I'm doing with this city. It's called City Tales, and it's a project with the lovely people at Shibara House. How many people know Shibara House? A few. Shibara House is a private company. They work in advertising, but their core corporate mission is to give back to the community. And in this building, which they built with Sana Sejima Nishizawa a couple of years ago, you can see the transparency to the community. And every year they do a studio, a kind of like an educational project around a theme open to anyone, basically young creators and so on. They asked me to run it. It's called the Critical Studio, and the theme this year was the city, and we called it City Tales, and these were the participants. And we're doing an exhibition at the end of 6 months of like various kinds of talks and workshops. And I'm going to go through and introduce you to some of the projects. So Kazuaki Kojima-san is an artist and a filmmaker, and he spent some time in New York at the Occupy movement a couple of years ago, and he's fascinated by bathtubs. Bathtubs are private spaces where you can kind of get in touch with your inner solitude, but at the same time, potentially connect with other people and connect with fantasies and so on. And the bathtubs are exactly what is holding up the World Trade Center. You may remember the bathtub. Takaki Imoto is working, he's a web designer, and he works with digital kind of interfaces, and he's built a whole new interface between Instagram and Google Maps. And he's going to mount a projection artwork in the building, which will combine all of the Instagram tags, geolocated photographs, and Google Maps on Tokyo. So you can query, for example, where is the best view of Skytree, according to different people's perspectives. And you can even take one person, say this one person is colored deep blue, and you can follow their path around the city and see the photographs he's taken. And this is kind of raising the idea that our cities are basically huge matrices of stories, millions of stories. Every one of us has a personal story, and the city is the collective story of all of our personal stories. Ikue Nakayama is a writer and a PR consultant, and his question is motivated by a similar question that the Bito Bito guys earlier in the night had, which is what makes a city fun? What makes it lovable? What makes it livable? Not livable, but in fact lovable. And after many months of thought and deep concentration, he came up with the answer. People. Not very difficult, really, is it? And obviously, people are what we love, and what people do and how people behave is what's so fascinating in cities. So he's going to have an interactive project in Shibara House asking not what the city can do for you, but what you can do for the city, and write it on the glass walls of the building. Plant flowers, make public seating, legalize dancing, for God's sake. Patrick Ware is an Australian architect, or young Australian architect, and he's been in the city for a year now, exploring the city, getting in touch with what makes Tokyo tick architecturally, and he's fascinated by the fact that the buildings here, they only last a few years, only last a generation, and you can walk down the street and overnight a vacant lot will appear. And in these lots, he's imagining the traditional rituals, the kind of rhythms that continue from traditional Japan through to modern Japan, through to contemporary Japan, and imagining these traditions on these vacant lots, these kind of little bombed out remnants of like the kind of post-war landscape, you might say. So that's Patrick's work. And all of these projects that are being put together by these participants, each of them represents a view on the city and why the city is fascinating and interesting. Puji Nataja is from Jakarta, and in Jakarta, it's a city which is completely different from Tokyo, and so her entire fascination is with this comparison. So here's her drawings of the difference between Jakarta and Tokyo. Tokyo was a very orderly map, as you could see. You get on the train, it's got a nice timetable. Jakarta is a kind of chaos of automobiles, and I think that's representing her car. And finally, Tekla Boven, she has this beautiful and subtle project in which she found a tree in a street on private land, on the street that she goes to and from on her morning commute. And the tree looks exactly like a Christmas tree. And in December last year, she thought, well, that's a Christmas tree. That ought to be a Christmas tree. Let's make it a Christmas tree. So every day she folded a piece of paper, some random paper, and into a decoration and put it on the tree. Every day over 25 days until Christmas Day. And gradually, other people started putting decorations on the tree as well. And then on Christmas Day, because she was not with her family here, she was all alone, she invited the neighbors to have a Christmas party around this tree in the laneway in Koenji, where she lives. A wonderful idea, and I think that everyone should replicate this project and turn the city, the public spaces of the city, into lovable, magical spaces where we feel at home. So come along to the exhibition on the 21st of March next month, and although I'm leaving tomorrow, I'm going to come back for this.
Whoa.
Thanks very much, everyone. It's been a pleasure.